Greetings. Welcome to ITR Live. I'm your host, Chris Hagenow, and we are back here in the Hendrickson Library at the Center for Preservation of Western Civilization at ITR World Headquarters in Central Iowa. John Hendrickson and myself here again today, ready to thrill and excite you on the gold standard of Iowa conservative entertainment. John, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine.
Good. Hey, it's been a challenge this morning.
Yes,
I think,
yeah.
And you've only been in here for about 10 minutes, but I think you would concede that it took a while for me to figure out how to press play again today.
That's because you were busy yesterday.
I've been busy, and
Yes.
I'm glad you asked,
Yeah.
John. We got a construction update today. So for those of you that are audio-only listeners, we've begun the process of making improvements here in the studio. So changed the background here. I built a wall yesterday. Put up these are actually, I know it looks nice, John. These are actually acoustic tiles. They're not just just for decoration. And so we're trying to give the folks the best product we can. And this is hopefully absorb some of the sound. I have a tendency to get a little animated and talk loud, and then it echoes through your microphone. And we're trying to avoid some of that. So I don't know that this will make a huge difference, but that's your construction update for today. And if you are an audio-only listener, this is your periodic reminder that we are on YouTube. And you can see our smiling faces here and listen to John laugh at my stupid jokes. So here we are. So are you ready to go?
I am, yes.
Good.
Yeah, yep.
Well, we had in pre-production this morning, we're talking about that sometimes this time of year, there isn't as much going on in, call it Iowa politics, elections, policy. It's the summer of think of it as the off year. So there aren't legislative, congressional elections this year. Obviously, there's what's going on with who's running for what in 2026. But from a policy standpoint, it is a little bit quiet right now. And there are things going on, but we still want to try and give you relevant content here. But we do have some things we need to cover today. I guess to kick off, you want to tell the folks about, and this is sort of just a general interest story, but the book of the week.
Yes,
I noticed this morning coming in that and for those of you that don't know, I guess we should reset this. So the Hendrickson Library is actually a thing. And again, for those of you that are audio only, John is sitting in front of about half of your collection?
About half, yeah.
About half of the collection. And so anyway, so it's a real thing. It's here, and it's not just coloring books. These are serious, serious pieces of history, conservatism, presidential politics. I'm just looking around. There's a lot of biographies on the wall. But so we have had you downstairs in the entry here at the Center for the Preservation of Western Civilization. You have the book of the week.
Yes.
And you do. It's a serious thing, and you bring a different book down. And some weeks I flip through it, some weeks I don't. But I noticed that you had picked one this week, and I'm going to let you take it away.
Yeah, and so this week it was a easy decision because the sad news came with the former president of the Heritage Foundation, Ed Feulner, passed away. He was one of the co-founders of Heritage.
Yeah.
He had served as president for 37 years, and he co-founded Heritage with the late Paul Weyrich, who has also passed away.
Sure.
But so the book of the week is a biography of Ed Feulner and also a history of the Heritage Foundation. And Feulner is and I got to meet him. I didn't get to know him personally, but you
spent time at Heritage.
Yes,
for the folks who don't know that.
Yeah. So I was at Heritage for just a short time, but I was there for about a half a year when I was still in grad school. But I got to meet him a few times, and he was very, very nice, and just one thing that he was very kind of I was intimidated by him because he was just very imposing and very, he had a booming voice and just a very large presence.
Yeah.
But anyways, he always, one thing that impressed me is the first time I met him is he had this book called March of Freedom, which I have a copy here on the shelf.
Yeah.
And it was his book that he wrote, and it contained biographies of key intellectuals in the conservative movement. And he gave me that book and he said, read this. And that was sort of my introduction to the history of conservatism.
Yeah.
Was that book, and that was one thing he did is he wanted people to understand the foundation of conservative ideas, and the other thing he did was he really made Heritage the gold standard for think tanks.
Whoa, John. Now, hold on just a minute here. The gold standard, like, okay, anyway, I love heritage, but let's be clear who the gold standard think tanks is around.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll revise it. Gold standard for national think tanks, or
all
DC.
right.
Yeah, not state.
Okay.
Not
For
state.
the time being, we'll give them that one. All right.
But at the time, for heritage, a think tank like, for example, AEI, or Brookings, they would publish a white paper, and it would basically be this massive white paper on a topic, and then it would just get published on a shelf.
Yeah.
And then when Feulner and Weyrich came on the scene with heritage, they said, members of Congress need resources, and they need it fast, and so they saw these wonderful studies that were being published, but it was too late for anybody to use them. So they basically pioneered that, if you're going to have papers, they need to be short and they need to be useful.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what heritage did. And then also when Reagan came into office, they published what was called Mandate for Leadership, which was a guide of policy proposals. Heritage did this, and it kind of was controversial in this last election, Project
2025.
Yeah, 2025.
That's right.
And so Heritage, this wasn't, they've been doing this for a long time. And so Mandate for Leadership was just a set of policy proposals, sort of like ITR puts out a policy blueprint.
There's two or three things in there, John, that I'm glad you brought up. And I didn't really come in here and intending to spend a lot of time talking about heritage, other than it's significant that Mr. Feulner passed away. But you talked about the foundations of conservatism, and that's important. And I think that we are starting to lose sight of some of that, as not necessarily as a movement, but as leaders inside of the right of center. Call it the conservative movement, I guess. Fine, whatever. It's just a name. But we get hung up on the individual thing. This is the bright, shiny thing that we want to chase today from a policy standpoint, and we sort of lose sight of some of the rest. And what are those fundamental, foundational principles that are a worldview, that are a governing philosophy, or whatever they are? And we got to hold true to those across the board. Now, obviously, here at ITR, we believe in fiscal discipline.
Mm-hmm.
We believe in things like balanced budgets. And we believe in fiscal restraint, and ultimately having that benefit the taxpayer through tax relief. And so we're going to continue to talk about that, which is our side of the ledger, so to speak. But that's important, and you and I need to keep that in mind. I think going forward, both in what we say here and how we talk about things, but those what are the foundations of conservatism, and how can they be applied to the issues that are in front of us here in Iowa or nationally? So I think that's important. Secondly, this talking about white papers, and you've heard me go on my rant that very few people care about your white paper, but they are important though, because those become sort of the intellectual justification for things. But it's getting things so that they can be used, and so that they can inform, and getting those things in front of a lot of people. And I think that's what we're trying to do, frankly, with our podcast, with the things that we do, whether it's our magazine or our email or social media. How do we package? Look, we're a think tank. We have ideas. How do we get that message in front of as many people as possible? And if folks don't want to read it, fine. But what's the modern day version of packaging that and getting it out to people? And it's something that we wrestle with as well. So those are both good points I wanted to, and I guess too, the work shouldn't be just the finished thing that we put together is not the reason we do it. We do it so that we can actually impact public policy. And so there's very little benefit in a 10-page report with a whole bunch of footnotes if it just looks flashy and goes right and goes into someone's junk mail or deleted. What is in there, in that thing that we put out, that will impact and inform how someone does their job? So a leader can say, I read that, made sense to me, I'm going to make this next decision. And we need to stay focused on the, I guess it's kind of business buzzword, are the things we're putting out actionable? Can someone pick that up and run with it? And too often the long, flashy, with colorful charts gets ignored. Not that I have anything against colorful charts, but they got to be part of the plan and getting folks the tools they need, much like Heritage did back in the day, of getting the tools they need to do the job and do it the right way.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and I think you did an excellent job kind of summing up what Feulner did in his tenure at Heritage. That was the objective, and of course, with your experience, firsthand of that, from the policy making perspective. And I remember one time being at a conference, and I think it was a chief of staff to the governor of Utah, and saying that getting all these massive papers, and they built a wall with them, and a lot of times people don't read them, and so like they were saying, just these concise, useful bits of information that can be used, just like you were saying, and that's what the vision of Heritage was at first.
Yeah, well, it's all good. It's noteworthy and gives us a chance to talk about kind of the why and how we try and do things around here. So, and I was thinking too, it's not an indictment. It's not a negative towards lawmakers that you have to package it tightly. But try to think about the range of issues that even a state legislator or a member of Congress has to deal with on any given day. Everything from healthcare to education to criminal justice to whatever social program to the budget to, all down the list. And they can be in all their constituent work. They don't have the capacity to spend 2 hours digesting a long treatise on something.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're lucky if you get 10 seconds. And so you've got to put it together, and that is not a negative. They want the information. They just need to be able to process it in order with everything else. And
that's
so
right.
Anyway, that's good. Okay, let's get down to actually some things that are happening in Iowa right now. You may not have noticed, John, but the 2028 caucus season is absolutely underway in Iowa. So I don't know if you. I know you pay attention, but they're here.
Yes,
we're not even to the state fair yet, and they'll be here for that too.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to click through some of these. And I know we've talked about some of these. Rand Paul was in town.
Yes, I forgot about
a month
that,
or two ago.
Yep.
But just recently, Glenn Youngkin, governor of Virginia, was in town. Did RPI? I think it was the Lincoln dinner. Sarah Huckabee Sanders was in town for the Family Leader event. Ted Cruz coming to town for Attorney General Brenna Byrd. They're here. I'm not saying all these people will end up running for president, but that's what this is about. Thoughts on any of that? I mean, it just seems like it's earlier than usual. And maybe that's because we're in the second, term of a Trump presidency. But
no, I think the most interesting of that list is Youngkin, because there's been a lot of speculation of him, and in fact, there was even speculation of him as a candidate in the last go around.
Right. I think, and I noticed a piece in Axios Des Moines today that was kind of clicking through some of this, but even if these folks aren't running for president, they're running for relevance. And these are all very significant figures, whether you're a senator or a governor or whatever, but maybe you want to be thought of for a cabinet position or the vice presidency, or you do a good job and you're the next leader of national think tank. These things, there's a reason people come and do that. But I guess my biggest takeaway, until there's for the time being, the front runner for the Republican nomination in 2028 is JD Vance. Mm-hmm. We saw going through the 2024 cycle that the Republican Party is still the party of Donald Trump, and JD Vance, there's no one else that's better situated to carry on that movement.
Yeah.
Do you agree with me on that?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying he ends up being the nominee or should be or any of that. I'm just saying there he is, and he's done a good job. I mean, he's been a very good messenger.
Yeah. I just want to tie in one thing to that, because we were just talking about Ed Feulner, but one of his last articles he co-wrote with former Vice President Mike Pence, which I thought was interesting and basically very critical of populism, of Trumpian populism.
We talked about that, John.
Yeah.
It was,
so it's
Mike Pence,
and I'm
wanting to bomb the whole world.
Yeah. And so he was not comfortable with.
Yeah.
And so I mean it's going to be an interesting debate within the movement.
I think that conversation is healthy.
Yes, yeah.
If you're having an honest debate, look, there absolutely is a difference of opinion on foreign affairs, U.S. involvement in the world order, and to what degree, and that dovetails with trade policy. There's a debate on the right on what the right path forward is. Fine, let's have it. It's an exchange of ideas.
Yep.
That's absolutely great. So that's kind of my take. There's others on that list that I think want to be considered for president. And I think too, to your point, John, we'll have a conversation about trade policy. We'll have a conversation about what should the U.S. be doing in places like Ukraine and Israel and Iran and Taiwan and Korea, like all of those things. What does that look like? What is our role? What is our responsibility? I look forward to it because I love that conversation. I mean, the intellectual conversation.
Yes, yeah.
I love the knockdown, drag out political campaign too. Don't get me wrong, but I also love the intellectual debate on the actual policy. So keep an eye on all that. Obviously, there will be people here for the fair. That will. That's when you find out who's serious is who shows up for the fair. Will we have Fred Thompson showing up in a pair of Italian loafers? Right? Did I get that right?
I think so. Yeah, I remember that.
I was trying to be every man, and it didn't work.
This business will get out of control. It'll get out of control, and we'll be lucky to live through it.
I think mostly I just wanted to use the sound pads today because I actually labeled them and I know where they all are, so it's good. Anyway, a couple of fiscal things, John, that I wanted to at least touch on. And we need to get Sarah in here because she tracks all this stuff. But you're starting to see local governments coming out with their bond proposals that'll come out, and those will be on the ballot in November of things they want to ask the general public to sign off on so they can go borrow a bunch of money. You had the one that you saw that you flagged for me in Marion.
Yes, for the aquatic center.
Yeah, they wanted an aquatic center in Marion. Interestingly, it wasn't exactly $43 million, but it was pretty close, which for whatever reason, $43 million is the magic price tag for a community recreation center. We saw it in Urbandale, we saw it in Pella, and now I guess the price has gone up maybe to $44 million, depending on whether you want the wave pool option or not.
Yes.
But we're right around there. For whatever reason, that's just what it costs, apparently. That's a question, I guess, for the architects to answer. But another one in Marion. And I did see that Dallas County Board of Supervisors again put the county courthouse back on the ballot at a even more expensive this time.
Yes, I did see that.
That got voted down last fall. I think it was in the 50-some millions. I didn't take notes on here, but it was a significant cost increase over a year ago. So I don't know what they think is different this time around. And voters told them no. So they just add on to it and have it be more expensive and hope that it goes differently. I got the sense that they believe that they just didn't sell it well enough. And, we'll see. I suspect that wasn't the reason. I think folks just got tired of having to pay the price for all of these new projects. And that's without taking a position on the necessity of the project in Dallas County, other than, we'll find out whether that's something that the voters of Dallas County find valuable, or the people in Marion if they want an aquatic center. I mean, you had Waukee, put one in, and there's a lot of people that want an aquatic center. Mm-hmm. And you know what? Wave pool's fun. Yeah. It just is. But that is a lot of money.
Yes.
And Marion is not, it's not Des Moines, it's not Cedar Rapids, and $43 million is going to raise your property taxes. Mm-hmm. So there'll be a lot more of these, but we'll definitely get Sarah in here and she can walk us through that.
And I've noticed because we've had some people write in, but there's going to be some EMS issues too on the ballot. And
I'm not. Those obviously cost money.
Yeah.
And similarly, you put it on the ballot, but there, I will only say this for today. EMS is far closer to the essential functions of government than an aquatic center.
Absolutely.
And maybe even a courthouse is as well, but they do have one already.
Yeah.
But, calling 911 and having an ambulance show up at your house is much, much closer to an essential function of government. And I think Iowans largely look at it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in rural areas, they want to be able to know that emergency services will show up at their door when they need it. So anyway, not taking too much of a position on any of that. Lastly, and I guess just because I wanted a reminder to everyone, a reminder to us, you had an article recently, or we had an article about spending being the problem. And I saw the monthly revenue memo came out from LSA recently showing that some revenues had dipped. It's those monthly numbers there's so many moving parts in there. They're hard to unpack, but John, tell me about state revenue right now.
Yeah. So there's
or maybe more why are we tracking it? Why does it matter?
Revenue matters because it's what we gauge for how much the state can spend in the end. But what people are, of course, what Democrats and the media are pointing to is that the reason it's low is because we cut taxes, and that's
well. You cut taxes. There's less money coming in from people paying
and so
it.
It's a good thing. People are keeping more of their money, but there's also another situation there with the economic situation we could talk about. But I think the bigger point that we need to talk about and what people need to understand is that, and this is what the article was about, was that it's not necessarily, everyone's focus is on the revenue.
Yeah.
And what I argued in there is that it's you have to watch the spending.
Yeah.
And so that is the driver. And so you look at why are a lot of states and even the federal government in so much trouble? It's because they continue to spend.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily even because a state cut taxes. It's because they continue to spend.
Yeah.
And that's what creates a budget problem. And so in times of uncertainty, you need to control spending and maybe limit spending.
Okay, I agree with you, John, but I also don't want to miss out that in the good times, the state of Iowa watched spending, and it led to us being able to cut taxes.
Absolutely.
Because,
yeah.
And so in good times and bad.
Yeah.
One, maybe in harder times because you have to.
Yeah.
But in the good times, it's so that you can honor the taxpayers.
Yes. Yeah.
And so we did that, and I don't want to miss out on that.
Well, I think one good example of that was through the pandemic. I mean, we did not know what the full impact would be, and a good part of that was the governor keeping the economy relatively open, and then also the legislature and the governor basically passing a status quo budget of keeping spending very low.
Yep.
And then we came out of that pandemic one of the stronger states, and our fiscal foundation was strong coming out of that because of that fiscal conservatism.
There's a lot of states that are facing a reckoning right now because they grew government during the pandemic. The funds are drying up or the programs are ending, and now they're left with a bigger government and they don't know how to fund it.
Yeah.
In Iowa, we have not had that problem. There's a program, a small thing here, fine, but I think it underlines the problem with spending. When you add a program or add dollars, resources to a program, you're not just doing it in that single year. You're doing it forever. How often do we really end a piece of government spending, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not only in that singular year. You might have a year when revenues are great and they're 6-7% higher and you got all this cash and we can, add a new thing. Yeah. And it's $100 million in perpetuity or with an inflator. And so it's important to remember that as well through the budget process. So we've got to it's always about spending.
Yeah.
And the revenues will go up and down, but lawmakers can control the budget. They can't
Yeah.
always control the revenue.
Yeah, and the other thing too that people always think is that, well, if you want more revenues, just increase taxes, and we've seen in other states that does not work either.
No, we know that, and we're more than happy to continue in Iowa to show the pathway forward on lower taxes across the board and fiscally responsible budgets, and separating the things that we need to do as a state from the things that
Yeah.
are less important.
And I think one lesson we can learn actually from Illinois. Hard to believe we can learn something from Illinois, but Illinois has a flat tax. It's a little under 5%, their individual income tax. But it's constitutionally protected, and that's one reason why they've tried to raise that, and it's been defeated because it's constitutionally protected. And so I think that's one thing for us to take seriously is to protect our flat tax.
Oh, we're definitely going to be talking about that leading into the next legislative session.
Because otherwise, Illinois has increased basically every other tax.
Right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else today, John?
No.
No trivia.
I can't believe I forgot.
Okay. One thing I did not forget is the winner of last week's trivia contest. It was State Representative Bill Gustav.
Yes, true. Yes, yeah.
We love you, Bill.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're waiting for somebody else to step up.
Yeah, I'm trying to even think what the question was. I'm drawing a blank, but
it was. Boy, I am too.
Was it the over the 4th? Was it the glorious 4th?
It was Gettysburg.
It was Vicksburg. Yeah,
Vicksburg,
what was the glorious 4th?
The glorious 4th
of 1863. So it was. So you had the Battle of Gettysburg that ended July 3rd, Union victory, and then July 4th, Vicksburg surrendered. To General Ulysses S. Grant, and so that was two major victories for the Union Army.
Yeah, that's been almost 2 weeks ago we recorded that, so it's been a while.
So I apologize to listeners if you're waiting in anticipation for a question. I didn't.
Good.
I
wasn't.
So.
No, that's fine. I actually expected you to have something else, and yet you didn't. So that's also a first. All right. Well, thanks, John. Thanks, listeners. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to tell your friends about the show. And with all that, we will see you next time on ITR Live.